How you doing, guys? My name is David Lee and I'm Asian with Hat, and this is the Ceratac AR-15. Now this is actually the AR pistol, but on the website is actually called the SBR. Of course, this is not an SBR, being the fact that this has a pistol brace on here. Thank you, ATF. So I wanted to tell you guys that the total build of this, outside of accessories, is about $290, and that is from the upper kit and the lower. For just the upper kit itself, it's about $250. So that is actually cheaper than most of the airsoft guns that you would buy on the internet. And I say most as in most of the premium guns that you see on the internet, varying from, if you guys are actually a follower of me, Crytacs, VFCs, so on, so forth, you name it. So if you wanted to get a gun that is priced decently, I think Ceratac is a good place to start. It took about an hour for me to actually build the gun, although you can, of course, go through their website and pay the extra $20 and actually get it built, and it would take an extra week. So when it comes to the cons, let's first talk about the cons. There are actually some issues with this gun. I mean, it's a cheap gun. There could be some issues regardless. So the first things that I noticed when I got this build, it took about an hour, is that when I actually shot the gun, it took about, I did do about 30 rounds, not too many rounds, but the reason why is because it gassed like crazy. And in this clip you see here, you'll actually see that there was a lot of gas being spat out from the ejection port. So that was actually not really good. And so I was actually surprised by that, as you saw in the clip. And then the other portion that you saw with it is that, and I'm not going to try and point out the lens, is when I was trying to gauge whether it was overgassed or not, just initially, is that when it was ejecting rounds, it was actually spitting it out in the 1 o'clock or the 2 o'clock position, which is actually really bad. There was a lot of reviewers out there on YouTube that was not really doing a good review, so I wanted to give you guys a better in-depth review of the Ceratac and my initial thoughts. So that's why I wanted to bring up the overgassing part. You know, everyone else is just saying it shoots. That's fine if it shoots, but the thing is that you don't want to just say it shoots, but you don't talk about some of the other issues. Now, the other concerns, like I said, these are the other reviewers that were not talking about the other things on the gun. What could be why it's cheap? Now, if you guys don't mind China, then this may not bother you, but for some other people it may. Now, there are parts on here that are made in China. That would be possibly the flash hider, definitely the rail. There was a gas block. I didn't use the gas block on here. I used a Geisley gas block. The gas tube for sure. The charging handle, the buffer tube, the buffer spring, and the buffer itself, I am very sure is made in China. You have to cut corners, so therefore I'm pretty sure it's actually made in China for some of the parts on here. Is it going to affect you really? I think there's a possibility that the buffer spring and the buffer itself could possibly affect the performance and could fail on you in the future. I'm going to be changing out the buffer to actually get the correct overall length to actually put on a foregrip, so I'm not going to be really worried about the buffer itself, but I think it will last you enough. Now, when it comes to the charging handle, being the fact that this is not a part that moves a lot, I don't think you're going to have an issue. They're made of aluminum. So I don't think you're going to really have any issues coming to the charging handle. When it comes to the rail, if you're going to really use the rail and you're going to keep it, make sure you put on some blue Loctite. I'm only keeping it on here just to show it off to you guys. And I don't think you're going to have any issues on here. I think it's a good rail to have just to start with. It's M-LOK, so it's better than Key-MOK for sure. So I think it's a good rail to start with. Flash hider, it's a flash hider. It's an A2 flash hider. There's better ones out there you could possibly get. Surefire, other name brands out there you could possibly get. I'm just going to stick to the A2 flash hider until I have issues. Now, when it comes to everything else, the ball care group, I am pretty sure it's made by someone in the USA. Don't know. I don't think it's going to be someone overseas that is possibly making it. I'm unsure of that. Don't quote me. But when it comes to the barrel, I'm pretty sure it's made in the USA because I don't believe there's too many people out there that are making barrels and bringing them into the United States to sell. So I think the barrel is fine, and it is a 1-in-8 twist 223 wild barrel. People say don't use steel cased ammo. We'll see what happens in the future. So we'll see what happens. Now, like I said before, when it comes to the upper itself, the upper receiver is actually forged. It's actually made in the US, so an upper receiver forged is not going to have an issue until it's tooled. So Is it tooled improperly? I don't really see any major imperfections until we start having shooting issues, and I don't think you're really gonna have any issues with the upper itself because it's forged and it was most likely tooled properly. Otherwise, you would be hearing a lot of complaints. The lower itself is actually an Anderson lower. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of memes about it, but it shoots, it goes fine. I'm not gonna be shooting like crazy like some other people out there on YouTube. Not gonna say any names, but you know, there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be saying that the Anderson lower is not gonna work. Well, I don't shoot like crazy like some of the people out there, and I totally respect them, but I just wanted to see how cheap I can go. I don't think I'm gonna have any issues with the Anderson. At least I'm not going with like plastic or magnesium lowers. So I think Anderson's fine. If there's any other lower I would possibly get, I would probably go with an Arrow for my next lower, so we'll see what happens. But overall, I definitely do not recommend doing an 80% build unless you actually have the equipment to do it, but I think an Anderson lower is a lot faster to just buy and then install everything, or any AR lower that is not 80%. So just buy an AR lower that is just stripped and then just build it from there. I think you'd be a lot better off than doing an 80% lower unless you're one of those people that really just want to be on the download from the government. So I think this is going to be a gun that I'm going to have as my beater gun, and we're going to see how bad it does. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll definitely try and get some more research on this gun. Basically, we're going to try and do our grouping test and see how far it'll, not how far, but how tight the grouping is. I think it's going to be maybe 1.5 to 2 inches. I don't think we're going to have too many issues here, so we'll see about that. So Ceratac AR-15. If you guys have any more questions, just please comment down in the comment section down below. I think this has some potential. I do think there are some concerns on here, but of course, this is a very cheap gun to actually have. I think there are some things you can upgrade on here, which is totally fine. Usual AR-15s, you spend $500. This is a $290 build outside of the accessories, so I don't think you're gonna have any issues.